Welcome to Project Insight's Power Tutorial Series. We're excited to have you join us for this 30-minute session on how to streamline your entire sales order to cash workflow. Disconnected systems between sales, project management, and finance often lead to duplicate entry, missed billings, and reporting gaps. Today, we'll show how Project Insight can connect your CRM, project execution, and financial systems into one seamless order-to-cash process. From closed deal to completed work to invoice, everything flows automatically. By streamlining your order to cash process, you can save 5 to 10 hours per week by eliminating duplicate entry and manual reconciliation across sales, delivery, and finance. Automated invoicing ensures that no time or expenses are overlooked, helping organizations capture a significant amount more of billable revenue. Since Project Insight offers native Salesforce and QuickBooks integrations, you'll avoid middleware or custom integration maintenance, reducing IT costs while gaining accuracy and efficiency. This is a true sell, work, bill workflow. A few housekeeping items. Everyone will be on mute. Please feel free to use the chat as we go along anytime if you've got any questions. This session will last for about 30 minutes long, and this recording will be accessible on the link you joined from today. I'm Matthew Sparks. I'm the Director of Sales and Business Development. With me is Steve West, our CEO and co-founder. Steve, you ready to get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
Wonderful. Well, what we have right here is a project report, right, Steve?
Yeah, this is a report of all your projects in the system. Could be 100, it could be 1,000, it could be, they have 7 or 8 here. And we're showing just some columns that we decided to show for this report. Obviously, it can be any column you want, but what you'll see here is we have the proposed amount, the billable amount, the invoice amount, and how much you have left to invoice. And we have other financial fields available too, but we want to just show you how a lot of companies have a hard time understanding what is it that we said to the customer, what's our sales order or our proposal say, how much have we done so far, and how much of that have we invoiced, as well as even how much is the scheduling say, like what's our forecast going to be. Right now we're not showing the forecast here, but we're showing you all your reports in the whole system with those values in there so you can just know instantaneously where you are in the project. And that's a big challenge a lot of companies have.
Yeah, often I think what you're doing right here is you're pulling in your CRM data, you're pulling in your project management data, and you're pulling in then your financial pieces just in these 3 columns alone. And the nice thing to Steve's point about really any report within our tool is it's all a drag and drop system. So I can move these columns into the order that makes sense for what reporting we're already doing. And if I need additional fields, all you need to do is come in here and right click to insert the columns that are relevant. So in that event that you have other columns or other data points that you need to capture, it's really easy to have those again all on one screen similar to this. So
Yeah, and we started here because we just want to show everybody. This is the output. This is just one of the reports of the output, but the goal is knowing for every project, how much did we tell the client and all that. We're about to dig in and show you how do we get these numbers? How do we get them on this report? And all of it can be done in Project Insight, so the project manager doesn't have to be jumping between multiple systems.
right. So, how does this workflow start? How does it work? Oftentimes, it begins here through this is a proposal within our tool. So the idea that we have sold work, and now this could be, this idea where our CRM automatically injects this data and creates this record within Project Insight. Whether that means we've sold it or the opportunity is hit in a certain stage, or I can actually manage all of this right within Project Insight, even without using a CRM or other platform. But this is the idea of what we are going to do for a customer or a client.
Yeah,
Right?
and I want to mention too that not only could it be Salesforce, NetSuite, any kind
HubSpot.
of CRM system, HubSpot, wherever that order originated, the order can be manually input into our tool if you want to. Like let's say you just want to start here and go that way, or we actually have an Excel import too, so that you can automate the process yourselves without using the integration. And then sometimes clients will have us do something special, but like maybe you have a special Excel file used to do quoting, then occasionally we'll do a mapping of that to our Excel import so someone can just upload it right in. So there's lots of ways to get this order into the tool, and the benefit of having the order or the proposal in our tool is the PM now can see exactly what it is we're trying to sell. Like what's that schedule really going to look like? And we can track how we're billing against this value. So Matt's going to go through that right now.
That's right. One of the other points to that is this can be templatized if you are doing it right within Project
That's
Insight,
true.
right? So you can click button, say these are the types of items, the services we provide, and then kind of wash, rinse, and repeat as you need to. Which
Yeah.
we're actually, yeah. Sorry, Steve.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. And more than one of these per project. So not just one proposal per project, but you can
Right.
actually use it. You'll have your original order plus your change order and all of that. So you're looking at a single proposal, but this data can be added to your project in more than one time.
That's right. And really what we have from a data perspective here is some of the high level kind of native pieces, although this can be anything custom that you want to capture as well, which I'll show in a little bit. But really what we're saying is this is the company that we're selling this to. There's no project currently affiliated, and we're going to go through that workflow next. This is the date that it happened. This is who it might be assigned to, whether that's an individual or a resource pool, such as proposal manager in this particular instance. This is what we've actually committed to, right? We're going to do some consulting, we're going to do some engineering, we're going to do some drafting and design and some permit management here. And then the values for these. So this is what we plan, the revenue we will be seeking for this type of work. And then a custom piece that we've added in, although again, this could be anything that you want, we've added this idea of who the salesperson was, right? So in that way, they could track within Project Insight to understand what has Winston sold over the last year or month or any time period that you might want to capture there. So the other component here is the idea that, I understand that we're going to realize $115,500, but we also have this ability to track based on forecast date. So you can come in here and say that, maybe I'm going to get this in tranches, and I understand that I'm going to get the consulting up front, and we'll have that happen, at the end of this month. And then maybe we're going to have our engineering in October, and then the rest of that will become realized within December or whenever this project, is complete. So you do have the ability within Project Insight to forecast when this revenue becomes realized, which we'll show in a report toward the tail end of this session. You can split the values as well. So in the event that I'm not going to realize all $25,000 at once, I'm going to realize 15 and then 10. You can split that and then push that out over time. Or we also have an auto split functionality where you can do this automatically. You can come in here and say, we're going to start realizing revenue in October. We want this to break out into being 5 particular instances. And then what will happen there is over the course of the 5 months or whatever that it, equates to, however we've set this, it'll auto split that for us. Again, based on the deliverables that we see here.
Yeah, and this is really useful because many times project managers are asked to put what are the forecasts going to be in the future, and you're doing that in an Excel spreadsheet and having to manually keep track of that. So with this tool, the PM can just get the order, look at it, put the forecasts in, and in our system, it'll automatically amortize the values in the correct months in the reporting for you, and compare that with your scheduled amortization as well as your actual time entries when they happen too. So you're now automatically getting that data added to those spreadsheets that you would have to do manually. They're automatic.
That's right. So, congratulations, team. We've sold this order. We want to move this forward into a project where we can then execute the work within Project Insight. Now, this process can happen automatically through that integration with CRM, or it can be more manual, and you can do this in either order. I can create a project plan, then add the proposal in the event that the project plan is going to drive what this cost is. In this particular workflow, though, we're going to go from our proposal to our project here. So we're going to come in and say create project. This is going to bring in all of the data that was relevant on that proposal, such as the name, the company that we're serving. In this way, I can come in here and fill out any other data points that would make sense based on the work we're doing. Or we can use a template and have those pieces automatically filled in, again, based on what's relevant with that template. So we're going to use this engineering template to then deploy a task list or WBS for the work that we're doing here. The other part to note here is that, we can put a rate card and associate that with what the actuals are going to be. So as we execute this project, all of the time and other pieces will have the appropriate rate on them to either bill out to the client or just track accordingly for our project that we have here.
Yeah, and this is really important. The rate cards are very important because many clients of ours have clients where they're billing out different people by role or by type of person they are. The values of those rates can be different based on those people, and everything that you do in your time tracking and as well as your scheduling will be automatically calculated with the correct rate for your client. Rate cards, you can have a master rate card, you can have rate cards for specific clients, and what that does means you don't have to set it up every time when you're going to have a project. So if you use like a standard set for certain kinds of projects, you just pick the appropriate one. All of the labor and time tracking will use the appropriate rate for the people when they are working on the project for you.
That's right. I really think that there's a lot of value in the diversity of being able to track by the individual or the time code that is entered or the resource type. But then when you combine that with the fact that you can do this on a customer by customer basis or client by client basis, it really takes it up, because then there's no more manual calculations, which is often what you have to do without having such a system in play. So I'm going to go ahead and save this now, which is going to create that project structure, create the project itself, and bring in any of the information that was a part of that particular, WBS or whatever we had in that template. In this instance, it's really just a simple task list here where we go through kind of a design to development to testing phase, and then we can go ahead and deploy and get this project done for our client here.
Yeah, and what's great about this now is we have the proposal with its fixed amount. It's not necessarily fixed. It can be time and materials. We didn't really mention that earlier. It can be like a fixed bid or time and materials or a mixture of those.
Yep.
But now, because that document in that proposal is set aside, it's not modifying. The schedule can be whatever it needs to be. And I see a lot of clients try to like fit their work breakdown structure into like what the accounting team wants you to see. And that's not really reality, because when you're scoping out a project, the estimates in a proposal or a sales order is oftentimes not what you really want to do or need it to be while you're actually conducting the project. So now the PM knows what those targets are because they're in the proposal values, but they can schedule the project however they need to do it. It can be a whole different number, and we're going to use that number to compare back to our performance.
Yeah, that's a really great call out, Steve. You can have those be completely separate of one another. If I click into views, where we have the different options based on what type of work we're doing, what add-ons we need to be doing, I can click into the proposal itself right here and get right back to that record and see what we had committed to. The other part to note is this little add to project option allows me to go both ways, right? I can put this down onto the WBS if we care to go that route, or I can bring the content of the WBS up to here. So there is quite a bit of flexibility in how you can deliver that, whether, I want those to be 100% connected, or I do want them to be completely disconnected. So in that way, Richard can come in here and log the 30 hours that they need to complete this task, and then Susan can come in, and then Patrick can come in, and we can execute this work for our customer. So, which is really what we're going to talk about next. So the idea is that within Project Insight, Richard and Susan and Patrick and anybody else who happens to be associated with these tasks or the assignments needed to get this work complete can be automatically notified when the right time is here to say, hey, Richard, we need you to get this task done. Um, Also, they have the ability to go into what we call the work list, which is going to be a combination of all of their relevant assignments, anything that's overdue or upcoming as dictated by the filter. So usually in the next 7 days worth of work, where they can come in here and simply find the tasks that they're associated with or other objects, right? It can be approvals, it can be really anything in here, but they can see the name of the task. They can see the project it's being driven from. They have the ability via the status to click into this. They can then say that, hey, I've gotten started on this. As they do so, they can start a timer and start logging time against this particular assignment that they're working on. They can log time granularly here on the time itself. They can even click into the task and log time as well, right, Steve?
That's right. You can enter time many different ways because we want to make it as easy as possible for people to do time. But what we have here is a project management system and a time tracking system built into one. Still, even now, there's a lot of companies out there that have time tracking over here in their accounting system, and then you've got your schedules over there. People are entering over here, schedules over there, having to put this all together. With Project Insight, we have both of those things together. The users can enter the time, and because you're collaborating with your fellow coworkers, and even vendors or consultants or clients, um, the PM doesn't have to do quite as much work because they're going to log in, they're going to put the update of the status, they're going to log the time, and all of our that report we showed you earlier, that's real-time data for you. So you could just hit that button, boom. Someone enters 10 more hours, that's going to show up in your report immediately.
Right? It'll show up on the project level and the report itself,
All
which
levels.
will show right now. The
Yeah,
other call out that I think is really handy, and I know a lot of our customers do, is that I've got my Teams application here. I can be right within Teams and be doing the same
that's right.
functionality that we were just doing. And Steve had mentioned the idea that we've got multiple time entry methods. Another way that's really simple is you can always go to your time entry home, whether I'm in Teams, whether I'm on the mobile app or in the browser. I can add time from a list, or I think this is one that I really like to use, Steve, is the idea of the time entry grid, right? Where I know the relevant assignments during this time. I can then come in here and say, oh, I spent 4 hours doing project management, and this is billable, meaning I want this to be able to be sent over to an invoice, which we're going to go through that workflow in a little bit, and then log that time against these projects there. So.
That's right. And this is like, you're looking at your classic time entry grid that you would see in a time entry system, but this is baked right into the project planning and the scheduling. So you don't have to go enter the tasks in another system and over here, it's just one place. Keep your work breakdown structure and your schedule up to date, then all of this other stuff just works.
Right. And that's really what we're going to show now is now we have a different project that we've clicked into. So just to set the stage, this is one where you can see we're getting complete on these assignments, right? I can see it really quickly if I roll them into the summary level where I can say I'm done with design, I'm done with development, I'm now in the testing phase where I can see we only have one more task left to do. This can also be auto filtered really quickly to say, show me what's current and overdue or assigned to my team or otherwise. But this work breakdown structure is not too large where we can see everything on one shot. Project Insight allows for that same report functionality on really any of the list views where I can drag and drop and get these columns in that are relevant to what we need to be tracking. I can right click and insert the columns that are relevant to our workflows. I can come in here and then also save those. And in this way, I can even bring in a planned versus actual value here to be able to understand how we're performing, right? So we had said we were going to do 20 hours on this task. We've actually put in 22 hours. I can click into the actuals and even see when the time was logged, when Richard went into the time entry system of choice and put time against that and understand, what those values were. My rate and billable totals are what's being driven from that that rate card that we had set.
That's right.
So.
Yeah, and those time entries could be coming from Microsoft DevOps or Jira as well, because we have a Jira integration and a DevOps integration. So the time tracking, if they entered it into Project Insight or into those other systems, would come in and get applied to those rate cards. So then the work being done in the extra system can be tracked right in Project Insight, so you can see what you're doing with your budget on real time.
That's right. And then in the event that we're done and we're ready to invoice, all of these records become, functioning into, where we can move them into an invoice record, which we're going to go through and show that workflow next. So Steve Thomas finishes our project out, whether Steve marks that as done on the work list or a task list or a dashboard or even right here on the project plan itself, that then will show me, hey, we're done with our project. We've completed everything. We can invoice out that last little bit that we might need to, where then I can go into my invoice records and proposals. I can see that original proposal that we had sent out. This one's a little bit simpler, where it was just 2 lines as opposed to 4 of what we were just showing, where it's just consulting and engineering. The other part to note here, Steve, is this green box lets me know that we've actually already invoiced out that consulting, right?
That's right. You can actually see the invoiced amount as a column on this report or on this page if you want as a new column. Like we said, you can just show how much is invoiced, invoice
Or
total.
what's remaining.
But
yeah,
what we're doing here is showing you how much is how much you've done and how much is left there.
That's right. So you have the ability to do that, and then you can create that last invoice, right? We just got done. We needed to send out this 75,000. I can say create invoice. This is going to take all of that relevant information from what we had, right? The idea of who the project benefited, if we want to attach a specific rate card, we can. This is the name of the invoice. So in some instances, we'll name this, SEPT 2025, so that way we can do that. We can have even the PO number on here, so if that's relevant to what they, what they need on their side to reference to make sure you get paid, you can do that. And then we can click Save. That's going to bring in that remaining outstanding amount from the proposal, which was just that engineering line there of $75,000.
Right, so now that proposal is going to show green over there, and this invoice record can be sent out to another system like QuickBooks or NetSuite or wherever the accounting system is.
Right, and actually, we'll show the workflow of being able to send it to QuickBooks really quickly as well and generate a PDF with it that can be sent out at the same point in time. The other part that Steve had mentioned is this can be, time and material as well, wherein I can come into Project Insight and say, you know what, I want to add all of the time entry that we have throughout the system. I can add from bulk, or I can come into the plus time and add kind of line by line. In this particular case, we're going to just say add from bulk. This is going to give me a few different options where I can say I want to add these, 1 line per entry that's been done, or I want them to be grouped together by the resource or the type of resource or the summary or the expense code that they put in. There's a lot of flexibility there. In this particular instance, I'm going to group them together by the resource or the members who log time. I'm going to click Save, and then what that's going to do is bring in all of the time entries that had been submitted against this project, throughout with which has not been invoiced as of yet, right? So this is the idea of what has not been invoiced. I can see Richard, put in 22 hours at the rate that we have him in as, and then here's that total, which then rolls in and creates a new total for our project here.
Yeah, and so, right now in this view, he's actually added an advanced option that shows the actual details. So it's an option there to show those extra lines. Maybe you don't want to show them, but that's how we've arrived at that. So in this case, we've billed some fixed amount from their engineering, and then we did a ad hoc or time and materials, all in the same invoice. But that shows the process for when you're trying to track the time that you get from just doing a time and materials. What Matt just showed you is how that would work on a time and materials project entirely. But like you said, it can be a mixture just like this one if you happen to have that situation.
Or if it's not and you need to delete really quickly or edit any of these, it's really simple to get this in the exact way and format that you want it to be. Whether you're deleting, which is what I'm doing, or going in and editing, you can really make it what you need to be to then say, you know what, I'm ready to get this out to my customer. I want to send this over to QuickBooks so that that record is created so then they have the ability to pay that. So to do so, it's really just as simple as clicking this button. I'll be met with the idea of making sure that everything is mapped accordingly, and then I can say send that record over to QuickBooks. That's going to send the this invoice file itself over there. It's going to create the record within QuickBooks automatically for us. It can also do things like create documentation. So this is a PDF that was then auto-generated to be attached within QuickBooks and send out. This particular PDF shows what the current amount is, what was paid previously, and what the total is. It has that PO number, the customer information. This is another custom piece that we can have. So in that way, my client is not only receiving the invoice from QuickBooks, they're also seeing a detailed account based on what happened within Project Insight there.
Yeah, no, you notice there that this invoice was created in Project Insight, but if you look at the top there, there's a little link there to the QuickBooks. You can actually click right over to the QuickBooks tool. I'm not sure we're going to go there right now, but it did actually create an invoice record in the QuickBooks, and now they're linked. And this saves you guys a lot of time, the project manager, because many companies, when we first see them, they're like, oh, we email over to the accounting team, and then they create the invoice, and then you got to do this back and forth in order to see what we're supposed to invoice. This gives the project manager control over, this is what the invoice should be like. That gets sent over to the accounting system for the accounting team to do the actual sending of that invoice out.
That's right. And then this all becomes reportable right within Project Insight. So I can, look at this over time, as Steve had mentioned previously, where I can understand what our billable total is, or what we, the effort we're going to put into that, what invoice we've sent out, and then I can even understand what the forecast, when we were supposed to have that. We have this particular report showing over time and with a chart on top, so you can see that information as it goes, right, Steve?
Right, you see the blue line there, that's what our proposed amount is. You see the green line, they're actually right on top of each other in our case because those are maybe fixed bids.
Yep.
And then the yellow line is actually what time did it take you to do it. So you can see that in June and July we made money because we were able to invoice out, and it took us less time to complete that work. But then in August, you can see it took more time to complete the smaller amount there.
What's nice about all of these fields, including what you see from a charting perspective, is you can come in here and choose what you're showing here. You can choose what values you're showing. So whether I want to show work hours, or whether I want to show the financial components to this, the proposal data here. If I rerun this report, because we created that, actually we're going to show we're looking a little bit better now, Steve, than we were for total invoiced amount, because that invoice record that we just created is showing here now at the same point, right? So
that's right.
Again, this report, like any of the reports within our tool, are customizable. I can filter out what I'm seeing. I can export this readily to an Excel file. All of the reports within Project Insight can be saved, so they're included in My Reports menu. They can be shared, so they're included with other members' reports menus when they log right in. So that way Steve doesn't need to run a report. It's just going to be right there in his drop-down list. And if I want to take that a step further, I can send this to Steve every Friday if that's the kind of cadence he wants to. I don't even need him to log into Project Insight where I can select a link. I can also say, you know what, send it to him as an Excel file and a link. And in that way, he'll have that documentation created automatically, which again, normally is taking PMs or finance teams or RevOps members hours and hours a week to do, because I'm looking here, I'm compiling data from here, and then getting all of that together right there. So
yeah, nice job, Matt. That just about wraps up the presentation today.
That's right. If you do have any questions, if you are a customer of ours, please reach out to your dedicated success manager. They're happy to help show how these workflows can be put to work for you. If you're not yet using Project Insight, please reach out to sales@projectinsight.com. We love to show you how our project, program, and portfolio management tool can make your work life easier. Thank you so much.